If you didn't see the leaked info from this past weekend, we got a pretty stacked 2026 coming from Nintendo. And honestly, even in spite of the sunburn that I managed to get in 40 degrees in Maryland, I did want to still come on here and talk about, just all the information, the stuff that I'm excited about, because I do think this is a pretty big 2026 for Nintendo, and I do want to just talk about what they got planned, and just why I think this is pretty high stakes for them, and also why I think that, this is the route that they should be taking, going with these franchises that they will be apparently targeting to be released in 2026 and even in 2027. The first thing that I do want to talk about is that we're going to be getting a new Star Fox game, which is actually very exciting because the most recent Star Fox game that we got was not Star Fox Zero, like people are saying. The most recent game that we've gotten was Star Fox 2 in 2017 on the Super NES system. So, I mean, just with that said, yes, you can, talk about just, Nintendo leaving Star Fox kind of in the dust. But I think this is a big deal, and I'm very excited for this. I think this is something that Nintendo should be doing. They should be targeting their, lesser, the series that they've given less love to, you know what I mean? Like Star Fox, like F-Zero, like Kid Icarus. I think that this is the route they should be taking. Obviously, we've seen this whole weekend, I'm sure you've seen it too if you're watching this video, that Glenn Powell will be voicing Fox McCloud in the Super Mario Galaxy movie. And honestly, I probably would have went with somebody different, but Glenn Powell is a good actor, so I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I already got my tickets, for that movie, so it's not changing anything for me. But I am excited to see kind of what they do with Star Fox, because I think a lot of people forget there's only been 8 mainline Star Fox games ever released, you know what I mean? And the series has been around since '93. So, I think Nintendo should be showing love to Star Fox, and I think this is just a step in the right direction. I don't know how much the normie Nintendo fans are going to, be on board with this, but I think, having Star Fox, like many people have pointed out, he's going to be the quote-unquote cool character in the movie probably, you know what I mean, and just kind of his role in that, and especially having an actor like, Glenn Powell playing him, it seems like it's going to be a big deal for Nintendo, but I don't know. We'll see what Nintendo plans with this, and they, Nate the Hate has apparently said it's going to be, the information, the trailer and everything is going to be released soon, so we'll see about that. Now, I did want to mention that, yes, there is the rumors that you might have also seen of there being an Ocarina of Time remake that's going to be releasing this year, and I will talk on that later in the video, but I did just kind of want to bring that up. Yes, we will actually speak on that, but there's 2 other series that I think Nintendo needs to show love to that I do want to talk about, and the first is one that actually will be getting, love shown to it, which is Metroid, and we're going to be getting a 2D Metroid, a remake of Super Metroid from way back in the day. It's apparently going to still be in the pixel art style, but I'm curious as to just how it's going to look. I'm sure it'll be, 3D pixel art, just doing a 3D, art style on the 2D Metroid game. I'd love to see that. Super Metroid was a game I grew up with, so I'm interested in seeing where they go with this. I think Nintendo obviously should be showing more love to Metroid. I think, Metroid Prime 4 was a fine game. I think the open world aspect kind of killed any excitement for it, at least for me, you know what I mean? It was hard for me to go back into that game because I was just not a fan of the open world. I just want a more linear Metroid game, Metroid Prime game at least. So I think this is a good thing to see. I think, MercurySteam, they're great, and, Metroid Dread is one of my favorite video games ever, one of my favorite 2D games ever. I mean, even in 2021, which in my opinion was a decent year for video games, you had some real solid releases. Metroid Dread was my favorite in 2021, so for me, I mean, this is this is right up my alley, and I'm excited for this, and I'm interested in seeing what MercurySteam can do, beyond this, because apparently they're making a new Metroid game as well. I don't believe that was one of the rumors, so I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think, Metroid it should be treated as one of Nintendo's top franchises, and I'm just interested in seeing how this game looks, so hopefully we see it in that apparent June Direct that we'll be getting, this year. And the other series that I do want Nintendo to show love to that I did want to talk about is F-Zero, and, there's been a lot of talk about the Super Mario movie, and, will there be any surprise appearances, because most people felt like Star Fox, you would have Fox as the surprise character and you wouldn't reveal it beforehand, you know what I mean? Obviously, I don't think people expected Fox to be in the movie before the announcement, you know what I mean, with the poster drop, and then Glenn Powell, the video that he, posted the day after. But I think, to me, Captain Falcon, that could be the surprise character, and hopefully it is. I'm sure there's, a ton of possibilities you could do with the, with the movie. I mean, we've seen apparently there will be Pikmin in the movie, so it's probably going to be the movie that, as many people have kind of alluded to, is probably going to open up, the door for the Smash Brothers, universe, or whatever you want to call it, Smash Brothers animated series of films that they'll do. I don't know. But I think Captain Falcon and F-Zero should be the, surprise character. Apparently there's 2 post-credit scenes, at the end of the movie. So maybe you could see Captain Falcon appear in one of those, or maybe he's just straight up in the movie, which I would, assume is probably the more likely position if he is in the movie. But, F-Zero I don't think gets enough love. That, F-Zero GX on the GameCube was really like one of those games that was very like integral to my youth, you know what I mean? Because like the GameCube was the first home console that I ever owned. So for me, yes, I was handed down, an NES and an SNES, when I was younger. The first console that I was really, given, and was more of my time, was the GameCube, first console that my parents had gotten me. And yeah, I mean, F-Zero GX, like I said, played a huge part in just like my taste in gaming. That was like the first racing game that I played, even before, Super Mario or Mario Kart Double Dash, I mean. But yeah, I think for me, like, Captain Falcon should be one of the characters in this. F-Zero 99 was, gosh, that was probably 2021 or 2022. I don't even remember. I mean, I probably could just look it up, or could have looked it up before I started recording this. But I think for me, I would hope that Captain Falcon, if there is a surprise character in, this film, it would be, Captain Falcon. But I don't know what Illumination has planned. It's apparently, I think, like an hour, 38 minutes. So they probably have a lot they're trying to jam pack into a movie that, by all intents and purposes could have been 2 hours, but I guess for a younger audience, they want to make sure it's on the shorter side, And lastly, yes, I did want to talk about that Ocarina of Time remake, as to me that is probably the best video game ever made, So I mean, this is a big deal, and that's something that I am excited about. I've played this game like 3 or 4 times over the course of my life, you know what I mean? It was probably the first Zelda game I ever played. It was either that or maybe, Link's Awakening back in the day, because my uncle handed down, his old Nintendo consoles to me, when I was much younger. And yeah, I mean, to me, this is a good move for Nintendo, since I'm sure the next Zelda game, 3D Zelda game, is years off, even though it's been, 3 years, almost 3 years since, Tears of the Kingdom. I still do think you probably get that game a little later into the Switch 2's life cycle, I mean, I think earliest I would say is probably 2028, maybe 2029, because I think, I mean, it's rumored right now the 3D Mario game is next year, that'd be 2027. I would think maybe they space those games out by a year, but you never know, because in the, Switch 1's life cycle, both Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild came out the same year. But I think this is a good move. This is, a big deal. Probably, like I said, the best game in the series. You get a remake of it, for Zelda's 40th anniversary. This is, like, to me, probably the move you make, especially with the movie happening next year. And yeah, man, I don't know. I think that's a big deal, and I think one of the best games ever made. I'm sure it would sell like hotcakes, you know what I mean? I enjoyed the open world Zelda games, but like the more, linear ones and the dungeons from those games and stuff like that, like that's my taste. It's what I grew up on, so I know, you know what I mean, I'm going to have a bias in that regard. But to me, this is what this is probably the best, the best thing I could have asked for, you know what I mean, especially with the Switch 2 hardware. Hopefully it's Switch 2 exclusive. I don't know if it will be, because there's just that huge install size with the Switch 1. But if it is a Switch 2 exclusive, I mean, the game is going to look even more incredible than it would if it was, cross-platform, And yeah, man, this is like this lineup, I think, is really, the best thing you could ask for if you are a diehard Nintendo fan. I mean, getting, potentially, game after game after game, all this year is really what, honestly, I mean, I love the Switch 2's first year on the market. Almost, it's not even fully over, because that would be June. But I think, this will be a great year too. And yeah, man, I don't know what game will be the big holiday title. I'm sure probably the, Ocarina of Time remake. But this is really what, you know what I mean, you want if you're a Nintendo fan, and I'm excited for this. And outside of like a 3D Mario, I really don't even know what else you could ask for, you know what I mean? And the reason I do think this is a high stakes year for Nintendo is because there was the recent reports that, you know, Nintendo believed that they underperformed, you know, in terms of Switch 2 console sales for the holiday season. So I think, you know, to get a holiday season in the year 2 that really, you know, hits what Nintendo wants in terms of console sales, I think this can do it, especially if you have, you know, the Ocarina of Time remake and stuff. And, you know, like I said, you don't have a new, you know, 3D Mario, and technically not even a new 3D Zelda, but to, you know, the younger audience, this is a new game, you know what I mean? They haven't played a game like this, I'm sure, and yes, you could play it right now on Nintendo Switch Online, you know what I mean, the, you know, original version, you know, through an emulator. But I think, you know, this could be the year, hopefully, that Nintendo is on, you know, the mark in terms of console sales for the holiday season, you know, and if not, then I guess they'd have to look to next year when, you know what I mean, we assume we're going to get a new 3D Mario. But this is a high stakes year, and, you know, I think they can, especially with the Mario movie and whatever possible, you know, appearances that we get outside of Fox, maybe make some of these, you know, lesser franchises actually stand out and carry a lot of weight, you know, in the holiday season and just the whole calendar year, you know what I mean, for 2026. And yeah, I know it's been a little bit since my last video, but I did want to just come on here and talk about this because, you know what I mean, I am a Nintendo fan. I don't ever try to hide that, you know what I mean, and I have a ton of Nintendo related videos on this channel, but I wanted to, you know, just do this, just come record without a script, because I feel like a lot of times when I'm writing these scripts and doing this, it comes off, you know, very robotic, you know what I mean? I think it feels very robotic when I'm just not, you know what I mean, talking off the cuff and just, you know, giving my thoughts about stuff. So I kind of want to do, you know what I mean, just do more videos like that, more videos like this one. So if you enjoyed it, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new, because I have a lot more content like this I'm excited for, especially if we get more, you know what I mean, stealth drops, you know, from Nintendo in terms of trailers and stuff. You know, I'm very excited to kind of see what they have, you know what I mean, for the rest of the next couple months, you know what I mean, up until that direct, because I think, you know, the Mario movie, I'm excited. I have my tickets to go see it Wednesday, you know, this upcoming Wednesday. I'm not sure when I'll be able to get this video out, but yeah, guys, if you want to see more Nintendo content, let me know. Like I said, like the video if you enjoyed this little, you know what I mean, just coming in front of the camera and discussing like I am, and subscribe. You know, I have a ton of ideas for different JRPG stuff that I want to do, Nintendo related stuff, you know what I mean, retrospectives on maybe GameCube games and stuff. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'm out. Peace.